And away we go. Well, at least for me, it's just me for now. I'm not sure when the others will come. Maybe not. Hopefully. And yeah, let's just jumping right into the news. Where do we start? Let's see. Harvard rejects Trump demands for funding. Harvard University rejected the Trump administration's demand for policy changes at the school on Monday, putting nearly $9 billion in federal funding at risk. Huh, now that is interesting. Let's see what else it says. Well, it's nice to see some people or some institutions standing their ground against the higher powers. Now, what I want to know is, could this be said or done under any other president? Probably not. Mainly because Trump is very controversial. He is not afraid to speak out his mind. And he knows that whatever he says, people are going to be outraged. And that's exactly what he wants. And everyone is just giving it to him. So, there we go. Rebellion trial opens for South Korea's ousted president. Here's what's to know. Yoon Suk-yeol's legal saga is far from over. 10 days after he was ousted from office over his martial law declaration, the former conservative South Korean president appeared for the first time at his criminal trial Monday on high-stakes rebellion charges. Yoon's baffling decision to declare military rule and send troops to Seoul streets in December made him the country's first president to be indicted while in office. Wow, that's crazy. Who thought that could make in the history books? Now, when it comes to martial law or executing military power for whatever reason, you got to be very careful. You can't just declare martial law, or you can't just deploy military power without a reason where there would be a positive outcome. Now, a lot of people would argue there is no positive outcome with military intervention or martial law. Fair enough, that's a good point. But there are very, very rare cases where when military power is executed, there could this could lead to a change in how society operates. One example, President of El Salvador. Before he came into power, the nation has one of the worst homicide rates ever. Like, no one could ever imagine a country more dangerous than El Salvador. However, Bukele said, "Nah, screw you, cartel. I'm locking you up for good." So, for a limited time, for a few days, with the permission from the citizens of El Salvador, they allow the military to arrest anyone that's under any suspicion of criminal activity to be locked up in high maximum security facilities. And if the people are satisfied with what has came out of that, if they say, we want to extend the time period of limited human rights for the sake of locking up criminals, okay, they will allow it. Extend it for a few more days until all of the so-called criminal organizations, or at least the criminals of El Salvador, are locked up in high maximum security facilities. And by the time that's done, and there comes to a point, okay, that's it. That's the end of the operation. Human rights can now be restored. That's at least one example that I think has worked in the past. I mean, El Salvador has been a pretty dire place before, but now El Salvador is declared to be much safer than many European countries. That's impressive. But yeah, unless such circumstances like that does exist in a country, you can't just deploy military power or eliminate human rights or just strip down on whatever freedoms of rights or speeches for the people, you're going to get a lot of people like very mad and outraged. So it's complicated. For the most part, it's complicated talking about it. If there's a clear reason where there will be a positive outcome coming from it, then go ahead and do what they must and just return to normal, knowing that life could be better. Unemployment fears hit worst levels since COVID as tariffs fuel inflation outlook. Consumer worries grew over inflation, unemployment, and the stock market as the global trade war heated up in March, according to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey. The probability that the unemployment rate would be higher a year from now surged to 44%, the highest level going back to the early COVID pandemic days of April 2020. The expectation that the stock market will be higher a year from now slid to 33.8%, the lowest reading going back to June 2022. So, even many years after COVID, everything's going to recover. There's always going to be people that just don't have access to jobs. If there are people that really wants to find a place to work so badly, why don't the employers hire them, at least temporarily, as part-time or couple months, and then they go off doing something else? But last time I remember, I've seen a couple of videos that people in my generation, Gen Z, there is a few that try very, very hard. They have impressive surveys, and no matter what the credentials, the references, when they get back from the employers that are willing to offer them the job, they said, "I'm sorry, we're not interested in candidates like your kind at this time," or "We're sorry, or this position has already been filled," or something along those lines. Very complicated, the job market. I think I think there's just some employers or some businesses that are aware that there are people out there who are looking for a job. They are desperate to find a job. And because of that desperation, they're trying to crack down on those people to a certain breaking point where I'm willing to work for any pay for how many hours, then employers will just take those people because they know they verbally agreed to be paid at certain hours, even if it's below minimum wage. That's not like that's gonna happen. But there are some people that are willing to do that. And it's just that's just messed up, man. But this is only the beginning. Even if things do get worse, at some point, things will certainly get better. Sony raises PlayStation 5 prices in Europe, citing, quote, challenging economic environment. Sony increased PlayStation 5 prices in Europe, the UK, and Australia starting on Monday. Sony cited global economic turmoil as the primary reason for this price increase. The price increase affects the PS5 Digital Edition, while the standard PS5 remains unchanged. Sony stated that it made quote-unquote tough decision due to quote-unquote challenging economic environment. Analysts expect Sony may eventually rise PS5 prices in the United States depending on tariffs. And this is what happens if one nation becomes so dependent on resources from other countries. I understand that there are countries that do want to do trade with other nations, or I understand there are countries that really like specific sources of goods or services from that country, and they want to import that to their nation. But the overdependency for that nation, or a particular resource from those nations, can be very dangerous. So there has to be some level of sustainability and a level of economical and resource independence. Countries can still continue trading for diplomacy's sake, but from a standpoint economically, you can't just rely on importing goods from other nations. There has to be a way to generate your own resources, your own goods and services from your own nations, and maybe use that to export it to other nations and make some kind of revenue that way. There has to be alternatives. You've got to think 2 steps ahead at least to know exactly what goes on and to ensure that no matter what happens in the world, whatever country you live in will not be affected. Algeria to expel 12 officials from French embassy. Algeria instructed 12 French embassy staff to depart within 48 hours, heightening existing tensions. The expulsion order followed the indictment in France of 3 Algerian nationals on Friday. Hello, Eric.
What's up?
Not much. Just
Yeah.
started the episode. I'm just reading into the expulsion of French embassy staff somewhere in Algeria. The Algerians face charges including abductions related to Amir Bokour's, a government critic with a large online presence. France's foreign minister, Jean-Noël Barrot, urged Algeria to reconsider the expulsion, with Barrot stating France would, quote-unquote, respond immediately. These actions signal a worsening of relations despite recent efforts to improve ties between France and Algeria.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, all I can say is, well, I'm not surprised that France and Algeria have complicated relations for many, many years, and I understand that the two nations are trying and improve diplomatic ties. However, well, we have talked about this. Like Amir Bokour, he actually spoke out against the French government at some points in the past, and well, we're hearing about it again, and it's gotten to a point where Algeria is instructing French embassy staff to leave within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, 100% agree with that. And yeah, it's like it was only a matter. Was only definitely a matter of time. But yeah, is there anything else?
Canadians cutting spending, delaying purchases amid tariff turmoil.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So like, is there anything more on this news?
Yes, a survey from its insolvency firm MNP Limited suggests Canadians' outlook for their personal finances has brightened even as they've taken steps to cut their expenses amid economical turmoil.
Well, I suppose it's great that they're trying to cut expenses and save more. That's actually a really good thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So well, yeah, I personally see no problem. I personally really see no problem with it. I mean, like that's technically a really good thing. I mean, hey, I mean, like people just Canada a lot. Like they do something. They do a lot of great things, right? Some wrong, but that's every country. They do some things right and some things wrong. So I
Yeah,
mean, but yeah, that's a good thing. They're trying to cut expenses and like trying to be better.
yeah.
So, but yeah, like what do you think?
Well, good on the Canadians trying to be financially smart about what expenses they have and whatever costs are involved. I think a lot of people, no matter where they live, should really think about balancing and budgeting for not just the current moment in time, but also maybe a couple months or weeks into the future in case there is some money left over and they want to treat themselves to something.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. Like I 100% agree. I really have no argument about that. But yeah, is there anything else?
Yes. Tight control by the gendarmerie against illegal animal shipments.
Hmm. Illegal animal shipments. That's pretty. That's really interesting. Like what does it say in regards to those illegal animal shipments?
So in Tekirdağ, gendarmerie and agricultural department teams detected 27 cattle brought in illegally in Koşilyas neighborhood. The animals, without a certificate of origin, were sent to slaughter, and the owner was fined 105,000 Turkish lira. efforts to protect Thras's foot and mouth disease-free status continue.
Let me get this straight. Hold on. So he sent out a couple of wild animals to slaughter other animals or people?
I think they've brought in animals to slaughter.
Other animals?
Yeah, I think there's a couple, potentially a farmer or two, who were bringing in animals from somewhere with the intention of slaughtering them. And then the owner, who was bringing those animals to slaughter, he was fined 105,000 Turkish lira because the animals that were being shipped in, they didn't have a certificate of origin. And without a certificate of origin, indicating where these animals came from, that's kind of like kind of one of the laws and that's like one of the laws in Turkey that the nation has.
Okay. Well, I will say. Well, I will say this. I will say this. I mean, if you're purposely trying to bring in animals to slaughter other animals, I don't really see the point. I don't really see the point of doing that. And on top of that, it's like, what's the reason?
Yeah, like if you have, I mean, if you have cows bringing in or chickens, at least have the animals put to good use, like producing milk, eggs, or if you bring in sheep in, you can shave them every couple months to generate wool or cotton. Like, why are you bringing in animals that whose at least ways that whatever they can produce, whether it be in terms of edible delicacy or material for making whatever, like clothes, for example, why would you just think of slaughtering them the moment they arrive? Why didn't you just use the animals with whatever intended purpose they have? Like, use the sheep to get the wool or cotton, use the milk, use the cows to pump up some milk, or have the chickens lay some eggs, or which you can sell for a couple of, or make a bit of money from. You at least use the animals to whatever use as possible. Then, if the if it comes to a time that maybe that time on this earth has come to pass, then do what has to be done.
That is a good perspective. Yeah, it's like, I 100% agree. You absolutely have to be done in that category. And, there's no if, ands, or buts about it. You would just have to be done in that category whatsoever.
Yes.
But it's like, is there anything else in the news?
OpenAI's new GPT 4.0 AI models focus on coding.
Well, I'm not really that surprised about it. What else doesn't say about that news?
OpenAI launched the GPT 4.1 family of models on Monday, making the announcement via livestream. Growing competition from Google and Anthropic prompted OpenAI to optimize its models for coding tasks. GPT 4.1, along with nano and mini versions, offers developers improvements in coding and instruction following. GPT 4.1 achieved 72% accuracy on long videos without subtitles, according to OpenAI's reported figures. Through GPT 4.1 offers improvements. OpenAI will shut down GPT 4.5 on July 14th, 2025, to focus on newer models.
To focus on pretty interesting. Like, is there more? Is there, like, it doesn't say any more?
Nope, that's just a brief of it.
Okay, got you. Well, I mean, can't really do it. I can't really do any. Can't really do anything about it. Can't really say anything about it. And this is about coding, right?
Yes,
Oh,
the
okay.
new GPT model that's going to be intended to be used for coding.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really surprised it's AI or it's just like anything like that. I mean, they are good. I mean, eventually AI will just replace humans entirely. And on top of that, it's like, coding, you can easily replace humans. You can easily replace humans, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much accuracy AI would have in terms of coding. But at the same time, I'm sure AI will figure it out. And yeah, it's like that's probably one category in humanity where we can be replaced. But yeah, like, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. Is there anything else?
Katy Perry, Gail King launch into space on Blue Origin rocket.
Katy Perry.
Yeah.
This is the first time we talked about her.
Yes.
What is she doing? What is she do? What is Katy Perry doing?
I have no idea.
You know, I just figured out that her and Russell Brand were married.
Now you're finding out about that?
Yeah, I was not really interested in any of their lives, so
Well, neither am I, but even I knew about that years ago.
I didn't even know who Russell Brand was years ago.
Fair enough. Well, I've heard about Russell Brand, mainly because I think it was one point he was doing like, I wouldn't say a debate, but he was like talking with some a politician or two like a couple of years ago. And of
Hmm.
course, I'd always hear about Katy Perry and Russell Brand in the spotlight when I was young, so didn't have much of a choice to not listen to what goes on. So yeah,
Well, at least she's not single. That's good. And
yep.
yeah, but Katy Perry and space. What is that doing in the news?
Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin launched his fiancée Lauren Sanchez to space Monday with an all-female celebrity crew that included Katy Perry and Gayle King. It was the latest wave in space tourism, where more of the rich and famous than ever before, or lucky and well-connected, can enter the zero-gravity realm, traditionally dominated by professional astronauts.
I'm sorry, I cannot believe that any of them went to space. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yep.
Is there a picture attached to it?
Well, the only picture that I can see is the Blue Origin logo, which is a feather, and then the words Blue Origin next to it, and then launch site 1. That's the name of the location that the launch took place.
I gotta lie, I cannot believe that any of those people went to space whatsoever. They would be crushed without what they would be they would be crushed without like their resources or their money. I cannot believe that they can even leave their money for a second.
I cannot argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, Katy Perry, Jeff Bezos' wife, and other women that I do not care about nor know. This was an all women thing too, right?
Yes, it was mostly women crew, an all women crew.
Yeah, I can't imagine all those women going to space. It's not even because they're women. It's just like I can't imagine a regular celebrity going to space. I can't imagine all of those women going to space, especially Katy Perry.
Also, what would they know about operating a spacecraft?
Nothing. I'm being honest. Like, just stick to music, stick to business, stick to whatever niche they need to stick to what sorry. They need to stick to whatever niche they're in. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't hate Katy Perry, but just stick to music. I'm pretty sure she still makes music.
Yeah, she still makes music.
Yeah,
And she's having a tour coming up soon, apparently, so
uh,
that's at least something that she could be busy with.
huh. Man, I really don't keep up with her anymore. What kind of songs does she make?
I think the most recent song I've heard, I think the name of the title of the song is called "The Woman's World."
I thought that was a song. Wasn't that a like sorry, wasn't that an album or something?
Possibly.
I think yeah. It was either a song or an album. I'm not sure, but we're still naming titles that, huh?
Apparently.
I don't know. That just sounds like it's like such an early 2000s title. It's just like I don't know. It's like, bro. It's like I don't know. Women are doing a lot of things, so it's like it just does not seem like it matters all that much anymore. It matters, but I don't know. It's like we've gotten so far. We've gotten so far. Women are doing a lot of like things in the world. So it's like I just almost seems like it doesn't matter anymore to talk about. But anyways, yeah. As for Katy Perry, yeah, it's like Katy. I really don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. She just stick to music. Stick to music. That's all. That's all I can say. Stick to music because we all know she's not going to space. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
New gear could keep California crab fishermen on the water longer and whales safe.
Hmm. Do tell.
California crabbers are testing pop-up gear to extend fishing time and protect whales starting in 2023. The whale's entanglements spiked due to a marine heatwave, leading to restrictions on Dungeness crab fishing seasons.
I don't really have a real opinion about that. What are your thoughts?
Well, uh, don't mess with Mother Nature. Like, I get it. We're the more intellectually superior species, but that doesn't mean we should go hunting other animals and eat them for nutrients or for sport or something.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I really don't have a real opinion about this. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Yes, manufacturers struggle with uncertainty and chaos.
What is that uncertainty and chaos?
President Donald Trump's sweeping tariff-driven reversal of decades of free trade is creating financial chaos for the ferry sector it's meant to rebuild American manufacturing, the Washington Post reports.
Of course, it's Donald Trump. Trump. Well, I can't even complain that he's been in the news lately because he's always in the news.
Yes, every week we always hear about Donald Trump, at least thrice.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. Come on, Trump, do something. I personally don't care what you do, but the American people do. Do something, Trump. That's all I can say. What about you?
Yeah, do something productive, not just getting attention, but at least progress for a start, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Greece agrees to buy 16 anti-ship missiles from France.
Okay. What more is there about that?
Greece signed a deal Monday to purchase anti-ship missiles from France as it seeks to bolster its defenses in a procurement program aimed mainly at addressing tensions with neighboring Turkey. Greece's defense minister, Nikos Dendias, signed the agreement for the 16 experts with his French counterpart, Sébastien Lecornu, who was on a one-day visit to Athens. The two did not disclose the cost of the deal.
France has been very France has been very busy, huh?
It sure has been.
Yeah, France. All I can really do is wish them the best of luck. I mean, France is just. I don't really have anything bad to say about France.
They're always doing their own thing.
Yeah, that they really are. They really are. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's like in the middle. It's also sometimes questionable, but other than that, they're pretty much doing their own thing. I really have nothing bad to say about France. I mean, I just wish them the best of luck. That's all I can do. Wish them the best of luck. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Man arrested on suspicion of murdering convicted killer John Mansfield at high security prison.
Like, were they both in prison, or like was one the officer and one the prisoner?
Well, an inmate has been arrested on suspicion of murdering a convicted killer at a high security prison. A prison, yeah,
Sorry, I was not listening. So an inmate that was in prison has been arrested in prison for murdering a convicted felon.
yes, or at least a convicted killer.
Oh, convicted killer. So a guy who was already in prison got arrested again for murdering a murderer.
Yes,
How does that make any sense?
I have no idea.
Like how? What are they gonna do? Give me more time?
Probably. It's the only thing they can do.
What else is there to do?
A prison service spokesman said John Mansfield was found unalived at His Majesty's Prison, Whitemoor in Cambridgeshire on Sunday.
Very interesting. I will say this. Why did he? I mean, I get the guy that he killed was like a convicted felon, but what? Like, is there a reason why he killed him? Like, does it say the reason?
Yes, there is more to the story in an article from Hungary. It's just, wow, this is taking a long time to agree. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Mansfield was attacked by another inmate and died despite the efforts of prison staff. 44-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Mansfield was serving a life sentence for the brutal attack on Ad Alfonso. He stabbed the disabled grandmother almost 100 times in a Manchester home. The person had used cocaine, morphine, methadone, and heroin before the brutal murder. He was hunting for cash and left with change. After he attacked John Orme in prison in 2014, Judge Jeremy Richardson said in sentencing him to a second life sentence.
Wow. I don't really know. I do not really know what to say about that. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, all I can really say is like, that's tough. That's really tough. It's unfortunate.
It's a rough life out there.
Yeah.
We
Well,
can do so much in our abilities.
that's true. That is true. Yeah. You can honestly do so much, but that's very unfortunate. I mean, I feel like that. I mean, they're inmates, but you know, could have still been handled better. But yeah, that's all I pretty much have to say. Could have been handled better, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, the result came out the way it came out, and yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, too little, too late. But is there anything else in the news?
5.2 earthquake strikes California near San Diego.
Wow, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what else is on the story?
A preliminary 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck in San Diego on Monday and was felt across Southern California.
Must have been a brutal hurricane, huh?
It sure has been.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, every hurricane is brutal, but you know, my prayers go out to like the families and many people who are going through that hurricane, and I hope that everyone is safe. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say the same. It was pretty brutal out there. It really shook a lot of people. And I don't mean it literally. I mean metaphorically as well.
Yeah, we've been talking about hurricanes a lot, have we?
Yes, and earthquakes too.
It's weird, but at the same time, not really. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it's not really that weird. It's not that surprise. It's not really that surprising, but you know, unfortunately, it is what it is.
And it was what it was.
Exactly. But what else is there?
Magnitude 6.5 earthquake strikes remote area of South Pacific. No tsunami threat.
Again?
Again, yes.
Wow. That's just very. That is just extremely unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, yes.
That is just sad. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very unfortunate that earthquakes are appearing all over the nation and the world, but mostly around the Ring of Fire and those poor people that live in countries that's close to the Ring of Fire. But surely they'll find a way to get through life despite those earthquakes.
Yeah, I'll say the same. They'll fight. They'll definitely find a way to get through life, despite the despite the earthquakes, despite the hurricanes, despite everything that is going on. They'll definitely get through it. And yeah, I think there was only one earthquake that I've experienced in New York. I don't really know if that was the first earthquake ever in New
But
York.
I think it was the first that we talked about.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm pretty sure there were more earthquakes in the past, but like that was just the first one we talked about. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate, and you know, I just hope that everyone is safe, and you know, may everyone get through that. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Saudi Arabia plans to pay off Syria's World Bank debt.
Really?
Oh yes.
Do tell.
Saudi Arabia plans to pay off Syria's debts to the World Bank. Three people familiar with the matter said, paving the way for the approval of millions of dollars in grants for reconstruction and to support the country's paralyzed public sector.
Why do you think they're helping out Syria?
Well, there had been an over decade long civil war, so there's a lot to recover from, that's for sure.
That's true. And I guess they now want a relationship.
Yeah, I think Saudi Arabia is wanting to help Syria out after what they've been through for over a decade.
Well, that's good to hear that. Well, that's good to see that they're getting along at least. But there's clearly some deeper motive behind that, behind them helping Syria. So I mean, can't necessarily say they're just doing it for nothing.
That's true.
Because a lot of people don't do favors for nothing. Not anymore. Some people do, but most people don't. If they know that they can get something out of it. But yeah, like, is there anything else in the news?
Pfizer scraps daily weight loss pill after liver injury in one patient.
All right. Tell me more.
Pfizer on Monday said it would end development of its experimental daily weight loss pill after a patient experienced a liver injury that was potentially caused by the drug in a trial.
Why are there even weight loss pills? I mean, I get it. I mean, if you're an obese person, I get it, and it's hard for you to get up. I get it, but it's like, bro, why does everyone have access to that?
Maybe there are a few people in this world that are at least desperate enough to go whatever length to lose as much weight as they can in a fraction of the time.
That's true, but man, just like, if you're not even that heavy, what's your excuse? You're just lazy.
Exactly. And even if it does work, how do we not know it would come back again? What if it's in your genetics that someone is just wide or has a wide physique?
Well, that's one. Well, that's one thing. If you're just a wide person, I don't think that should still stop you from getting to the gym. I mean, it's not. I mean, yeah, if you just have wide bones, fine. No, that still shouldn't stop you. There are people with wide bones who are in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just I'm talking about, like, people just willingly being fat. Like, for instance, me, I'm in decent shape. I'm not in terrible shape. But I can at least acknowledge that I'm lazy. But I'd rather go to the gym. I don't know, earn it than just take a weight loss pill, because I'm not that fat. I'm not even fat. I weigh 108, maybe 145. Yeah, it's like, it's not really that hard. It wouldn't be that hard for me to lose weight. Plus, my physical stature is like, my physical stature is not that bad either. So it's like, for some people, it's that they can lose weight easily. They're just being lazy. It's kind of sad, really.
it is, yes.
So I say, whatever happens within the next couple of years, most people brought that upon themselves.
Yeah.
I don't like doing much either, but at the end of the day, I'm willing to at least do some form of work to lose some weight.
Very true.
Yeah, but yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Javier Milei anticipated that in July the retentions will rise again to the field.
Is there anything more on that?
In January, the government had announced a temporary drop for soy, corn, and wheat, so oilseed would pay back 33% for its exports. "Quote unquote, the warn the countryside if they have to liquidate. Let them do it now," the president said.
Very interesting. I really don't have a thought on that. What about you?
Well, the farming sector in any country is very important to every nation. They've been very important for many years. Actually, many centuries, in fact. And they're still important now, regardless of how many service-based companies and organizations there are. Everything in terms of building society comes back to farming. And it always does go back to farming. It's going to be a rough while at the moment. But of course, with every downside, no matter how bad things get, things will only get better from there.
That's true. That is true. And I 100% agree with that. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Yes. Let me just find it. Meta will resume AI training with public content from European users.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. What more is on the story?
Meta will begin training its AI models using public content from European Union users. Data privacy concerns previously led Meta to pause these AI training plans. Meta will use public posts, comments, and interactions with Meta AI for training. Meta stated, "We'll honor all objection forms, providing users an opt-out option." Meta follows Google and OpenAI, which also uses European user data for AI training.
Interesting. AI training. That is very interesting. Definitely very interesting. What are your thoughts?
Well, if there's anything to learn about AI technology and DeepSeek, you don't need data from other users to make the AI better. Like, when I heard about DeepSeek and its capabilities, even on limited hardware, what's the need to use data from users to train the AI? And actually, on that, I've saw an Instagram post, or actually a reel on Instagram, that it turns out that Chat, I think ChatGPT or some other AI model that relies on human interaction, they get dumber the fewer humans that interact with it.
Wait, so they get dumber with the fewer humans that interact with it?
Yes, that's why OpenAI, Google, or whatever company that uses a chatbot AI capability, they encourage users or they tell users that their AI model gets smarter the more data it processes from users. And that would encourage more people to use their AI models to make it become smarter. However, only for then, if the number of users start to drop, how many that that could be? The fewer people that uses that AI model, the less smarter that model becomes. Now with DeepSeek, I try not to be biased about it because I use it all the time. But from what I've looked into DeepSeek, you can use any hardware. You could even run DeepSeek on an old 90s or 80s computer, and it can still operate to the best of its ability. This is the kind of technological innovation that I like to see. It's not about having the fastest processing speed or being able to get answers in a fraction of the time. What's important is, can it still work with limited hardware and limited technological processing? And if that's the case, then we're all on the right track.
That's true. That is very true. And I will say this: there's probably an advantage to keeping AI dumb, like the less humans they interact with too. There's probably an advantage in that. I'm pretty sure Risk would know how to explain it better. But yeah, there's probably an advantage to be had there to a degree. But let's face it, not all AI is gonna need human interaction to just to work functionally. So not really going to talk about not really going to talk about that. There's an advantage because, well, with AI I guess I'll say this in a way, if AI is dumb if they don't interact with humans, then I'd say that would prevent AI from really ruling and just taking over the world or something like that. You get what I'm trying to say. But no one is going to just do all that. No one will. Some probably will, but most others won't. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
So your home's not social media perfect. How to get over house shame and invite people in.
Wait, what?
House shame causes reluctance to invite people over, leading to isolation and despair, according to reports. Social media's idealized home depictions contribute to house shame, alongside personal struggles and comparison. Robbie Randolph, a real estate agent and interior designer, acknowledges experiencing the anxiety of house shame. Randolph notes that house shaming is actually how designers kind of get business, by fueling insecurities.
House shaming.
Yes, house shaming.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that would. I feel like that would. I feel like if I had a wife, that'd work on her. But I just wouldn't care. I mean, if you have to shame my house in order to get a sale out of me, then, bro, why would I
That's
want?
just sad.
It kind of is. I mean, like, why would you have to shame my house? I mean, constructive criticism, like, okay, fine, but it's like, why do you have to shame my whole house?
Well, maybe that's the strategy to get business, by pressuring people socially to convince them to redesign the house with some guidance from, quote, experts in home design, and then let them take the leeway to guide you to home designing, and then eventually, once the blueprints are down, and then the the practical work kicks in to do the home designing, eventually you then pay the price for the home design, and especially the whatever resources to do the home designing to begin with, and then eventually the person that sells you the services for house designing can, well, that would already have the kind of content that he or she would need to then promote his or her business further to other people who would likely use their services, knowing that the execution of that service has worked on someone. Like, they have used the content to show what what the process is, how the person that lives in the home picks the designs for their new house design, then probably do a couple, maybe 2 or 3 bonus behind the scenes footage, just to add a little excitement or extra clicks, likes, comments, and whatnot.
The most I would probably do is have them repaint my house, but that's about it. What are they gonna do?
Well, they can't do much unless they find a way to tap into someone's insecurities.
Yeah, well, if I think the house is fine, there's not really much that they can do.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a little messed up though. Preying on
It sure is.
people's insecurities, but at the same time, that's how most businesses thrive.
So true.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts or further thoughts?
Yes, I do. Besides what I've already mentioned, I think there are better ways to promote house design. However, as of now, this is the best they can do. At least the best that is most effective in social media publicity and marketing promotion, etc. But surely, at some point, there will be better ways in the future. And especially, and I'm not saying what, or not saying who, but at some point, there'll be a leeway. There'll be the next generation of social interaction and community building that everyone can contribute positively and actually give constructive criticism. So people can then develop the skills for house designing, and probably in a more organic way to look for house design services with a fraction of the peer pressure or the house shaming. None of that stuff. All the organic growth that people could ever ask for.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like for now, they have to do this so that they can get business, but eventually, I think it will change in time. And if it doesn't change, well, then what are you gonna really do?
Google it, I guess.
I don't think you should lie in order to get business, but
I agree.
most people do lie in order to get business.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
very true.
But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
I think that's us.
All right. Peace.
Peace.